We're going to close this door.
There's nobody else here. I will get rid of stuff if we close it.
You want me to admit all
No,
or just Jason
Nathan
Haig?
Haig, if he's there.
He's not here.
Okay. Then,
Okay.
One more.
Okay. I'd like to call the superintendent search committee meeting to order. Okay. Let's do a sound check. Can anyone that's any participant, maybe I can pick somebody. Can Megan, I see your face. Can you tell us if you can hear us? And if you can speak to us?
I can hear you. Yes. Hopefully you can hear me. You
Yeah.
must be able to hear me.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wonderful. All right. Well, it sounds like we are good to go. All right. Next item, agenda review. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Yeah. Okay. You want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda as shown.
A second. Second. Thank you. In the review, right?
So you'd have to
you have to ask for a vote.
All right. Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the agenda? As shown. Say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Agenda has been approved. Motion carried. Thank you. All right. Okay, next item, minutes from the March 17th meeting of the Superintendent Search Committee. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of the March 17, 2026 meeting of the Superintendent Search Committee.
Right. And are we all in favor of approving those minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I'm sorry,
I'm abstaining, right. I'm abstaining because I was not at the meeting. All right, sorry, that was aye. All right. Minutes have carried. Motion has carried. Okay. Next up, we have Stephanie here to give us the HR report. I want to remind everyone on this committee that because our time is limited, that we should allow Stephanie to finish and go through all of the items in the report before we discuss. And the moment to discuss will be under agenda item number 6 during the committee discussion. So if you have something, maybe just write them down as notes to remind yourself of those items that you want to talk about. All right, Stephanie.
Hello.
Which one? This one?
Super committee right there. Yep. Okay, so if you're looking at this document, on the left-hand side are our topics and the right-hand side are my notes. So our first topic is interview team changes. We had 2 candidates for the superintendent position include letters of support / endorsement from staff members in their application. These letters will be shared with the school board to aid in your decision-making process. At the advice of our legal counsel and Oregon School Board Association, in order to maintain the integrity of the hiring process, individuals who have expressed a preference for a particular candidate were removed from the interview teams. This leaves 6 employees in our licensed interview team and 1 employee in the classified interview team. The next topic is candidate access to interview questions. Oregon School Board Association recommends providing candidates the interview questions 24 hours in advance. I have a couple recommended options here. Option 1 would be to follow OSBA's guidance, which is provide the candidates the interview questions 24 hours in advance. An alternative would be to provide the candidates the interview questions as the interview process begins, no more than 15 minutes in advance. Number 3 is to request for sharing of interview group rankings. During our interview training, we had a large amount of feedback from our participants. We had mixed input from interview group participants regarding sharing individual and group rankings. So again, a couple different options here that I recommend. Option 1 would be individual and group rankings are shared only with the school board. Option 2 would be simplified group rankings would be shared with other interview groups the evening of interviews. My next topic is requests for interview groups to prioritize their own group questions. Again, stakeholder feedback from interview groups is that they want to have full autonomy over their interview questions. The feedback was good candidates will answer the same question differently depending on who is asking the question. So my recommendation would be allow groups to have repeat questions as prioritized by the group. Interview groups have submit their questions to me, ranking them. So, you know, if they're all ranked in their priorities, then we could allow that. Set a limitation of no more than 5 repeat questions. And again, HR will review and finalize each of these interview group questions. My next point, defining interview group involvement after April 8th and 9th. Which are the semifinalist interviews. So the feedback we received is interview groups want more opportunity to be part of this process, and they're asking what happens after the semifinalist interviews are completed. My recommendation is at the beginning of the executive session to determine finalists, allow the leader of each interview group to step into the executive session for 5 minutes to provide a summary of their top ranked candidates. This allows groups a few days after interviews to collaborate and finalize their thoughts. Leaders should be coming prepared with their top priorities and candidates and how their ranking displays those. Leaders could also speak to any red flags they saw in the candidates. I'm enjoying just reading this piece of paper. My next point is defining what application materials will be made available to interview group members. So again, to prepare these interview groups best, what will they be supplied with? They want to know what type, will they get the general knowledge of each candidate? So my recommendation would be each group would receive the resume and application without their attachments that each candidate had submit that we're interviewing. Next question, defining stakeholder involvement in the process to choose finalists for site visit / community forum. The question was, who's sitting in the room making the final decision? My recommendation is in the executive session with the school board, the current superintendent Penrod, and our board secretary, start with a listening session. And we talked about this when each interview group leader individually has 5 minutes to share a summary from their group. When the listening session closes, the school board, Superintendent Penrod, and board secretary will remain in the room to review interview materials and rankings. Superintendent Penrod will serve in a consultant capacity during this meeting if the school board has questions regarding the specific duties related to superintendent. Superintendent Penrod will step out of the room for board members to collaborate on their decision of which applicants to invite back as finalists. My next point is defining the role of stakeholders in regards to the site visit / community forum day. So those of you in the room have a yellow sheet now. And Greg, you will switch to my next document, please, which is a timeline for our site visit. So, going through this is a general outline of the day. It's obviously subject to change depending on outside stakeholders and the scheduling. So generally we're talking 8 to 9 a.m. We'll do a community group gathering. Right now we're talking about that being Good Morning Seaside or the chamber meeting. The details would be finalists speak to the community group, and this stakeholder group will determine the formal structure of this meeting. From 9:30 to 10:30, the finalists will get a tour of their first school visit. This will obviously depend on how many finalists we're inviting back, but finalists will get a tour and meet with stakeholder groups. We're hoping that would be student groups and PTO. Representatives will be assigned to escort candidates through the buildings. From 10:30 to 11:30, there would be a district tour where we will drive finalists around to a couple suggestion locations like the Bus Barn, Cannon Beach Academy, or district boundaries, or other areas as time allows. From 11:30 to 1 would be lunch in downtown Seaside with the mayors of Seaside, Deerheart, Cannon Beach, Convention Center Director, Seaside Police Chief, Seaside Fire Chief, and Sunset Empire Parks and Rec Executive Director, again, depending on their availability. 1:15 to 2:15 is our second school visit, again, tour and meeting with stakeholder groups. 2:30 to 3:30 would be school visit number 3. After that, 3:30 to 4:15 is a staff social hour where finalists gather with staff in an informal get-to-know-you setting. Candidates get a little break from 4:15 to 5:15 to have dinner on their own. And then at 5:30 would start our community town hall until about 7, where finalists will be introduced and anyone will be welcome to attend and ask questions. The district will develop a system for random selection for attendees to ask questions, and questions will be answered by all the finalists, rotating who answers the question first. Depending on scheduling limitations and stakeholder availability, district staff will make final determinations of that schedule, and the schedule will be made public via the district website in advance of the site visit / community forum day. And we'll be collecting feedback from each of these events via survey. And my last point on my HR report is additional items, which is just a disclaimer that the school board can seek assistance from district staff at any point in this recruiting process. And these recommendations are just guiding points, but do not limit the district staff involvement at the discretion of the school board. Thus ends my report.
Please just ask a clarifying.
I would love that.
In your, where it says defining interview group involvement after April 9th, 8th and 9th, finalist interviews, thank you. So this is basically, we do the interviews on the 8th and 9th. So what involvement will they have on who gets
Invited back as
okay.
finalists.
And then down here, defining stakeholder involvement in the process to choose finalists.
Similar but
Similar,
different. Interview
okay.
group is specifically speaking to those who are involved on our interview committees.
Okay,
And stakeholder is talking to a larger organization. Susan, not involved in an interview committee, but a stakeholder in that. Me, etc.
oh, got you. Thank you for that. Perfect. Yep, got it.
Okay, thank you. Hope everyone took some good notes. All right. Now we will move to the listening session. So the meeting will now be open to receive comments specifically regarding the superintendent search. Remember that we are all role models for our students, so please share your thoughts respectfully. We ask that comments not include information that would personally identify particular staff members or potential applicants. And then to ensure that all voices are to be heard, speakers will have 3 minutes to express their thoughts, with additional time allotted in the discretion of the committee as time allows. Couple other reminders, this committee is to listen. And the second is if you are going to speak, will you please state your name and if you're representing yourself or if you're representing. And we do have a timer again. So that would make this fair for all, as we have a lot of people who have joined us. Okay, is there a way to can they hold their hand up if they raise their hand if they're looking to speak?
You should be able to unmute themselves as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there anyone that?
Okay, yeah, I can go first. That's no problem. As I've said, hopefully you were able to see my email today explaining the situation.
You announce who you
Sorry,
are.
I'm Chad Klaus.
Representing
I'm
yourself
athletic director here at the high school. Yep.
Are you representing
I'm
yourself?
representing the 4 people that were moved from the committee, as with the email that I submitted earlier. From the licensed staff. I just have a problem with the collective voice of our staff being taken out of the interview committee because of something that's in a professional manner, which is a recommendation for candidate that in no way impacts my ability to make a informed decision on who the superintendent will be throughout this process. We now have 6 people representing one committee and one with no one at the high school represented on that committee anymore. And that just, it greatly impacts the voice of the people here, and it needs to be rectified and changed and put back and be respected on a professional manner that we can do the job unbiased as part of it. I guess, without feedback, is there going to be any time for comment after the discussion? If we're going to be allowed to be participants in this process or not?
Sorry. No.
Could you repeat that question, Chad?
Is there going to be time after we find out if we're going to be allowed, after public comment here, if we are going to be allowed to be participants in this process or not?
What's your decision?
If you guys choose to add that after your
We can add, we can do it out. We don't. We can have our discussion and make a decision.
Right, we could talk about doing our committee discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do that. Okay, thank you.
So yes, there will be time allotted at the end for a post comment if necessary, or no, there won't be.
I think we're to discuss it
Right.
during our.
So because this time is just for us to listen to those who are here, we have time after this listening session for us to discuss that. So we'll write that question down and have a discussion as a committee. Okay. I saw I think Megan next. Yep.
Hello. So several staff were informed yesterday afternoon that,
Sorry, I know we know you. Can you
oh,
please?
sorry, Megan
Yes,
McEwen, and I'm representing classified staff.
Okay, thank you.
So several staff were informed yesterday afternoon that we were being removed from the hiring committee for the superintendent position because we signed a letter of support for a colleague who was applying for the position. Weeks before, we were even informed that we were going to be possibly on hiring committees consisting of both classified and certified bargaining groups. These letters were given to HR some time ago, and why were we allowed to go through the process, actually encouraged to apply for the hiring committee, went to a training, and then told we could not participate. I was informed this afternoon after requesting the board policy or guidelines, because I could not find any online, that there are none. No policies, no guidelines, just best practice. Best practice. Is it best practice to have one employee on an interview panel? Is it best practice to have 5 teachers from the elementary school, 1 teacher from the middle school, and no teachers from the high school? By stating in our email, in order to maintain the integrity of the hiring process and in an effort to keep our interview teams unbiased, anyone specifying a chosen candidate for the interviews will be removed from the interview team. The district and their legal counsel are presuming that the staff here are unable to use a standardized scale when interviewing several applicants. We were going to ask the same questions in the same order by the same people and rate them on the same scale for each candidate. It is implied that we would not be professional or open enough to follow the same process for all, despite lengthy conversations about the best way to do it at the March 18th training. Ultimately, the decision falls on the school board. So if our recommendation was not in line with theirs or yours, then in the end, why does showing support even matter? Is it important for people to remember that we all have, or it is important for people to remember that we all have biases. It is natural for humans and it protects us and it hinders us. I guarantee there are people on all of the committees that will be biased in some manner. Isn't this why we aren't allowed to ask questions about certain topics like sexual orientation, marriage, age? That being said, by not giving staff the opportunity to participate because you are worried that we won't make the best recommendation of the students, families, and staff of the Seaside School District is simply insulting. Why is it that you don't trust us to be professional? We are trusted to teach, protect, and lead children 176 days out of the year. By making this decision, it further solidifies that the staff, both certified and classified, opinions and concerns, I'm almost done, are not valid. At the last committee board meeting, when asked why more classified staff didn't want to be on the hiring committee, I shared that staff
Sorry, I'm
didn't.
gonna have to stop you. We have so many people here. I really want to hear them, but we get your point. So thank you. Thank you.
Do
for
you? Do you really get it?
sharing. Yeah, we hear you. Hey, who was next? Go ahead. Carlina, Carolyn, Carlin.
Carlina Gage, Assistant Principal at Seaside Middle School. And I'm here representing our leadership group who met today to select our questions for the interview panel or for the superintendent's interview questions. We had two camps. We had two different opinions on whether or not the questions should be presented to the candidates before the interview or read to the candidate during the interview. And there were feelings on both sides, so I just wanted to communicate that to everybody here. Some of the opinion was we'd like to hear what the candidate has to say impromptu right then and there, you know, how they develop their thinking and how they present their thoughts without having seen the questions. But then again, we only have 45 minutes to interview the candidate, which a portion of that is going to be probably introductions. So it doesn't leave us too many questions to ask, maybe 8 questions. And in that time, some of those answers could maybe go a little faster if some of the questions were presented to the candidates ahead of time. So they're able to prepare their answers and we could hear their formulated ideas as to, you know, the different topics that we have. So there are both. And kind of, I was thinking of a hybrid model, something for you to consider where maybe some of those questions would go forth to the candidates so they could see and prepare some of their answers before coming into the interview. And then some of them could possibly just be given to the candidates right then and there so that we could hear their response like on the spot. That's it. That's all I wanted to share with you guys.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, is there anyone else? It was silence, but that tells me. Yeah, just. Yeah, let's, okay. We're all good at wait time, so. Okay. Yeah, let's look
If
through it.
anybody raises their hand, we would get a notice here.
Okay. All right. Now we are moving to the committee discussion where we will go through the HR reports. Talk about each of the items. And then we'll also address the questions that were presented during the lesson session. Okay. So if we could start from top, I guess. All right.
So yeah, you're on the candidate access team.
Yep, interview team change opens. All right. So this actually ties into the question of it. Okay. Yes, Chad and Megan's question about their removal from that interview team. What are the thought process? I feel like
know it's not a popular thing, but it is important to maintain some kind, the most, can you maintain, like it says, the integrity of the hiring process? And I don't think it's great. If somebody is supporting a candidate, that's wonderful. And I think they're great that they're supporting that candidate. But if that's a known thing when you go in, is it really at the end of the whole process, can someone come back and be like, well, half of your interviewing team was in support of this candidate? And you kind of stacked your interviewing team with people who support this candidate, whether we choose that candidate.
No, this is a discussion, no, because we're thinking about the fairness and equity, not only
Yes,
for
the
our
whole thing,
our
Right.
candidates, right, for the
shows
those
those
others,
others, right? But I think either way, if the candidate they support gets chosen, are there gonna be people that will say, well, obviously they got chosen, and are they gonna support that candidate? Are we setting that candidate up for the utmost success? If people are doubting how the process went?
if I could play the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
what if it was the reverse? Where instead of the group of staff members who were in support, it was instead a group of members who were not in support of that candidate. Then would the viewpoints be different?
If they were vocal about not being in support of the specific candidate, how would we move forward with?
It probably
I can't
be the
say.
It'd be the same,
Yeah,
right?
Just in response to a comment that was made that these letters that we received were not received until the 27th of March, so Friday.
So-
Of course.
I know actually was one of my questions is when did these letters were received after all of this?
After the panels were chosen.
Okay.
Could I ask a clarifying question to the person who said that the letters were sent in before this process was in place? In their understanding of when that letter was sent in? Can they get that? Yeah, Megan, could I get a clarification on when you said that the letters were sent in before the committees were chosen? I believe, I could be wrong in the way I'm saying that.
It was my understanding that the letter was sent in a week after the date we signed it. So it was only available for a couple days and it was being submitted. So that was long before the 27th. So if it wasn't submitted until the 27th, then I apologize. That was my bad.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that with that information, I don't doubt that this would have been brought up a long time ago. This conversation would have been brought up a long time ago. If the letter came in early on, and it would have been information back and forth on the committee. Okay, so thank you for that clarification.
I don't think we're doubting anyone's integrity or ability to make hard decisions or anyone's. I mean, we obviously they're all smart and wonderful and do fabulous in their jobs. I don't think we're trying to say that they're not. I just think we need to, and also our legal counsel and the OSBA kind of on their advice as well, are saying probably not the best idea. Now, is it the law? No, but is it best practice? I think so.
Usually don't like to talk about personal experience because doesn't apply, but
Jason, sorry,
Oh.
I'm not.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, I'll make sure to get his thoughts.
Start talking.
Just thinking about, it is a best practice that I've seen in other industries. So if there's a known candidate and a person that's really a strong supporter, they're not included in that interview process. I'm not just speaking from the healthcare industry. So it is a common.
Jane would like to ask a clarifying question.
Yeah, but Jason
Let's Jason
Jason's
chat.
response to the Jane, we'll get you after Jason.
Yeah, can you clarify the language when we talk about like the lawyers council recommended? What was the language on that? Because lawyers recommend a lot of things. Sometimes they say, hey, like this is what we think, that there is risk here, but it's probably not a big deal. Other times it's like, hey, this is a best practice, but like it's something to consider. And other times they're like, hey, this is a really bad idea. Um, Overall, can you just clarify what that language is? Because we keep referencing back to it, and I'd like to know kind of how it was framed and how clear and substantial it was.
You want me to address that?
Yes.
Okay. The areas that they mentioned were fair hiring practice laws with bully claims. Oh, I shouldn't call them laws, but practices with like I said, with fair hiring and bully Bureau of Labor and Industries. And those are laws that attorneys really look at to make sure that a hiring practice is following those fair practices to protect the district, to make sure that other candidates are given those fair chances and that those biases aren't put into place. So those are really the areas that they caution the district on.
Right, but like, what was their language? What did they say?
Well, are you speaking about legal language?
What did the lawyers say about it when we asked them? We said, hey, we got this thing, and they recommended what? What did they
That
say?
it would open the district up to bully claims and claims of unfair hiring practices.
By having people who signed a letter of recommendation before or after, that would open us up for risk of litigation or a claim against it for an unfair practice.
Yes.
And did we talk to them about how those panels were selected and when?
Yes.
Can you remind? So when did we pick those again, and how did that shake out? Because it was like there was 12, and then we were worried about how many people were going to have access to it.
Well, we sent out a survey to all staff members and they could fill out a survey saying, yes, I want to be involved in the interview process. And in that survey, I believe there were 11 certified staff members. And we said, great, all 11 of you are on board. But this letters of support, and it was 2 candidates, it's not just one candidate. From what I believe.
Correct.
Have been asked to not be on the interview committees because they have, but we got these way after we set up this process before. That we didn't know. Which we found out today.
I can speak to the recommendation from the Oregon School Board Association because I'm the one who spoke to them. Jason, were you asking about both or just legal counsel?
100%.
So the Oregon School Board Association is one of the organizations who sent us a proposal for their services. So they run processes for hiring superintendents. And I spoke to one of the staff members there who works on those projects. And he indicated that their practice would be not to have folks on interview teams if they were endorsing or supporting a candidate to protect the integrity of the hiring process in many of the same ways that have already been stated to protect the district against unfair hiring practice, potential suits, bully suits.
All right. I mean, that's helpful. Again, to Kat's point, like we are a product of our experiences, and I've seen it, very common the other way. Not in education, obviously, But seeing people with, their recommended candidates, people that they brought in, people that they previously worked for before as part of the hiring process, which is why you have a diverse group of people involved in it, right? And a diverse group of decision makers involved in it. So I think that the transparency that we have provided in all the questions with the different groups certainly mitigates some of that, and then ultimately who those decision makers are going to be at the end, which is the board. So I think that there is less, like, I understand that risk. I think that this conversation in and of itself helps to explain to the community and the different groups that we are trying to be very transparent in this, that we are trying to open this up, that we are ensuring an unbiased process with a lot of different stakeholders involved. So I understand the legal counsel piece of it. I understand the recommendation of it all. There's always risk, I think, in these hiring processes for those types of not lawsuits, whatever it is. And I just see this one is less. I understand it. I don't think it's as substantial, I think, overall, is what, especially with the number of people. So, like, what's our plan to, like, fill those groups back up again?
That's a decision made by the committee.
Right, so that's for us to decide. Do we
Yeah.
make a motion to leave it with the 6 employees, the licensed interview team, and 1 employee in the classified interview team, or do we increase? So we need to
can combine them.
we can combine
One
them, right?
staff, which would leave 7. Or do we try to fill it? Get time for that. If we can get more, especially from the secondaries.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't realize, I guess, that there were no secondary.
Another piece of feedback I would like to share is the initial group of the classified did not include anybody at the elementary school.
Okay.
So it hasn't been a perfect split across all groups, just based on who wanted to participate.
But as it sits right now with the 6 employees and the licensed staff, they all come from.
There are 5 elementary, 1 middle school.
What's an ideal number, if there is one?
I think initially we had said 8 to 12.
8 to 12. Okay.
We would have 7.
I want to make sure we get to Jane.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have raised your hand, Jane.
Sorry.
Thank you. I just had a couple of clarifying questions. The first one was, did anyone look at the dates on the letters? Not when the district received them, but the dates that they were signed and sent, because that could be 2 different dates. And then the other one was that if you do combine classified and certified, we are 2 distinctly different staff groups at the school. And it would limit the questions that we can have, and that's why we had 2 different groups.
The dates of signature were not included. There was a date at the top of the letter, I do believe, but I can't recall that at this time.
I'm gonna go look.
Oh,
okay.
I believe one didn't have a date and the other had a date at the top.
There's actually 3.
Leslie's gonna look.
Do we want to table that and come back?
Let's do that. That's a great idea. All right, so while
Right, but I can tell you, or we table it and go back. And I don't know how this question will, be received, but it's just for us to have more input as we're thinking about it. If, we consider keeping the people on the committee, the idea is, fair and transparent process. And I don't know who's gonna know who signed a letter. I don't know what information is going to be shared with other people. However, my questions to those who have spoken is, and have been removed, is what, how can, how will you, show that fairness, I guess, is that, I'm not questioning you, I'm just asking for some support in this process, I guess, just opening that up.
Yeah, I'll ask each candidate the same exact questions that I ask every candidate. I will listen and hear and respect those answers and take every answer into consideration, because that's what we do every day as part of this job, is listen and take everything into consideration. And so that's why I'm going to do what's best for Seaside, because that's what's best for our kids, that's what's best for our employees, and that's what's best for me. So, that's the answer to the question. They're listening, doing our job. The same thing that we do every day is what we're fully capable of doing as part of this committee.
Thank you.
And as for me, I can say that just because I support somebody doesn't mean that there isn't somebody else that can do the job as well. So I'm going to ask the same questions in the same manner for every single applicant. I'm going to take the notes on the answers they write, and then I'm going to rate them like I do with all the other applicants. So it's uh I mean, these are decisions that we make, and we want to do what's best for the students, for the families, and for the staff. And we can be objective about that. Just because we said that we supported somebody's application doesn't mean that we can't be open to other things and other people.
Well, just for the sake of time, let's table this if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And that will give us time to kind of process with everything that's been shared. So thank you.
Let's see, do you have the dates?
I do. So,
Okay.
One of the letters has no date anywhere on it. No signature dates or a date on the letter, but it was received on March 27th. The other letter has a date of March 3rd. It was also received on March 27th. I believe that the third letter, I could pull that up too, but that one was received a little bit earlier,
March 20th.
March 20th. And I believe the date was probably within a week or so before that.
A lot to think about. All right.
The
Let's do something
date,
easier.
I got one more thing. Sorry. The date at which it was submitted to the candidate. Yes, there is no date on the letter that was signed by us. It was submitted to the candidate on or around March 5th.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the second box. So candidate access to interview questions. The OSBA recommends providing candidates the interview questions 24 hours in advance. HR recommended 2 options. And do you guys favor one or the other?
I like the version.
I did too. I did too, but how is that logistically? Logistics issue, or is that?
I think it would be logistically challenging, but that's not necessarily impossible. This has all been quite logistically challenging. So candidate or interview team submitted questions today. I think that you guys could determine which ones are going to be answered written versus which ones are going to be answered in person.
Aren't they all going
Not
to be
written.
answered in person?
So
I'm
wasn't
giving-
Carlina's suggestion to have some of them written?
I think someone have given ahead of time. It's
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she
The
can,
group
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, the groups
the
can do
groups
that.
can pick the questions that they feel comfortable with, them having ahead, and yeah, I think that would, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Designate questions.
do you want to set a
24/7.
limitation on how many that is?
Yeah, we probably should. So we're looking at hybrid. I mean, if you do an even number, right? 3, they get advanced, 3, they get on the spot.
We've asked them to provide up to 20.
Oh,
So we only had one group provide 20.
okay.
My other groups are 14, 11, and maybe 13 or 15. So, I mean, we're all in that same range.
Okay.
No, yes. I believe that's right.
18.
Thank you, Jane.
All right.
Could you say 50%?
Yeah, 50-50.
50-50. Okay.
And who chooses which?
And the group
No,
can
and
choose.
what can
You can choose.
Okay. And what if the group say they don't want any of them? Send it in.
I think
Well,
that's
we're
what
making-
that's making the decision
Yeah.
and half of the questions.
Okay.
you know, They get to
Okay.
pick which one
Yeah.
they are.
Okay, so let's make a note, because you guys are gonna make some motions.
Can we just do a motion now, or should we wait till the end?
Uh,
One of the comments was asking for you to provide feedback after your collaboration discussion. I would think that that would need to be done prior to the motion. Any additional feedback?
Oh,
I think that's probably good. I can
Okay.
take notes and
Okay.
keep us on track for the things you need to make motions on.
Great,
Thank you, Leslie.
Yes, thank you. All right, next box, request for sharing of interview group rankings. So, mixed input to interview group, participants regarding sharing individual group rankings. So we have individual group rankings to be shared only with the school board, or simplified group rankings will be shared with other interview groups, the evening of interviews.
My initial thought on this is if it can be in a way that isn't, like showing who said what or anything like that. But I think it's another way of transparency so that people can see how people are doing. And it isn't, what we receive, they have seen, and we're receiving the same information.
And I would try to, if we do, very simplified, so it's not like, oh, you said this.
Yeah,
and you said that.
The,
Like, no
the
names.
simplified version in my pictured brain would say, the student group ranked number 1, Charlie Brown, ranked number 2, Lucy, ranked number 3, it would just be that. It would not have any additional information. And this would be the student group posted, the licensed group, the classified group, the leadership group, and then anybody in those interview teams would be able to view that throughout, I don't know, an hour after interviews close, and then that would be taken down.
So you're not, so then
That would be option 2.
option 2 is the group rankings, but option 1 is, so then what would it look like then, Stephanie, if for option 1?
The interviews end and everybody goes home. And then I collect up all the paperwork, and when you guys have your executive session, you get all the paperwork, and none of the interview teams would know what happened in the other interview rooms.
Thank you. Can we do both?
Well, you're gonna get the information.
Don't worry about
Okay.
that.
The information.
Okay, so no matter what, we would still get.
You're still
The
getting,
one option.
option number 1 is
Right.
solidified already.
Okay,
It's whether you'd like to adopt option number 2
Share
or
it with
not.
the other interview teams, not all of it, just.
right. I like it in the sense of transparency, showing how each group ranking and that the different groups can see each other's thoughts.
Yeah, as long as there's.
Not in there, I
Not-
wouldn't see, not
just
in
your
the
thoughts.
simplified, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the
The
simplified
ranking.
group ranking that
Yeah.
each one can see. That would be my thought. Okay, that's good, so fine. All right, I'm just watching.
Jason, sounds like
Yes, David.
ready to chime in.
Okay,
Thank-
request for interview groups to prioritize their own group questions. So interview groups want to have full autonomy. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think, Jane said it more. And so they will answer, they could answer the same question differently if they're in front of students versus in front of teachers. Well, I can see your point.
So just follow the HR recommendation. Yeah. Be my understanding. Okay. Let me know if I'm moving too fast. All right. Defining interview group involvements. Interview groups want more opportunity part of the process. So what if they we do after selecting those things completed? HR recommendation. Beginning executive session, every finalist, the leader of each interview group to step in and speak for 5 minutes. And that we should come prepared with top priority candidates and how they're going to disclose those top priorities and top red flags.
My question was, will these be like one at a time, or will all the groups hear?
This
what
would
the
be
group
one
has?
at a time. Is my recommendation.
Yeah, I would think that'd be important.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, any comments?
Yeah, we want to make sure.
I'm hearing you. I just don't have a strong opinion on it. So love the dialogue. Could go either way. Fine.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm listening. Actively engaged.
Good,
Okay.
I'm glad you're here.
Happened. All right, defining what application materials we made available. Recommendation that HR would provide each interview group with 1 copy of the candidate's resume and application without attachments.
Without attachments, what are the missing attachments?
And what would the attachments be?
The attachments are transcripts, letters of recommendation.
Okay.
And anything additional that they want to supply, which has really just been letters of recommendation or letters of endorsement.
Are those essay questions or their answers to the initial application essays in there?
Those are included in the application that, if you were to adopt the HR recommendation, would be provided to the applicant.
And why we need that?
I think that it's a lot of information to be providing. We have some candidates who've submitted a number of letters of recommendation, but we're gonna take time to read through. Additionally, I think interview groups are getting all the information that they need about the candidate in the application and resume. Where did they go to school? What positions have they been working in? What language skills do they have? How they answered those interview questions? And again, ultimately, it's the school board's decision to hire this candidate. So I don't think that each interview group needs to be reading these letters of recommendation.
Transcripts can contain some private information too.
Would the school board be able to get those attachments?
Yes, the school board.
Okay, I want to make sure because not everybody has to get in.
Right, and the reason I'm asking that, because if we're talking about, the first box and making sure that voices are heard and people are putting in those recommendations, I just want to make sure.
Oh,
that
we're seeing it.
So, okay,
More than you want to see it. You're
Okay.
gonna get all the things.
okay,
But I think what Stephanie's saying is correct, like they just get the information they need to interview that,
Right.
About I don't know if it's a bias, reduces bias at all, but
It may change some opinion. No, I don't think it's gonna.
But yes, in answer to Jason's question, it would include the essays.
Yes.
The application does.
the application is, okay.
So, okay, I don't want to go back to go forward, but so we're talking about not including the letter of recommendation that become kind of that point of contention with the groups that signed it. What if we just don't include that letter? Then can we let them back in?
Don't include that
I
letter
don't know who
in
signed
that
it.
candidate's application.
Yeah, remember the first one? Like, because if we just don't include that, if that applicant's like, hey, you know what, like,
I don't
I
think
don't
we
want that in there
can
anymore.
decide to remove somebody's.
It was submitted as part of an applicant's application materials. And so, yeah, I don't think you can
Just
choose to
decide.
So
remove
who?
that.
the applicant submitted that recommendation
Right, but
as part of their application, so I don't think we can say, well, you don't get to have it.
I think we
can
would
we
have
ask
to
them?
remove all recommendation letters from all applicants if we remove one.
It's not, but we could ask them. I mean, if that would avoid this like point of conflict in all of this, to just not have that letter in there
I
anymore.
would not feel comfortable asking them. And I think in
Why?
general, you know, it's been shared. You know,
To
now,
who?
I guess to me and Leslie who've reviewed the applicants.
To anyone that's voting?
And I suppose,
Well,
I mean, anyone who
yeah.
signed it.
No,
To anyone that's voting on like who's actually getting picked?
You mean for the
You mean the school board?
finalists?
Yeah. Like,
School
is anyone that has a voice in who's being selected have seen that letter? And if it were no longer part of those applications, would that avoid this issue altogether?
Are you talking about the school board?
Yeah.
I don't think that would resolve the issue. Because in the end, that information has been shared out to the Seaside School District. And if in the end, the school board decides that they're hiring whoever, whether this candidate, let's say the candidate that's being endorsed by these staff members, other candidates could come back and say the Seaside School District knew that this candidate was being endorsed and knew that these people on this interview team all endorsed this candidate, and yet you still move forward. Because in a bully claim, they're not going to have a claim against Seaside School District School Board. They're going to have a claim against Seaside School District. It's a very complicated process. It's not a fun decision.
we can't pull out.
It's not that complicated.
It
Okay.
is. It is.
We can pull out,
It's not.
but we can't pull out
because-
somebody's recommendation.
That's fine. I understand that. I'm trying to have a conversation about it to understand like what those details are. And a decision was made to remove all those people based off of a recommendation from the lawyer and the OSBA, which is fine. But it was made and done, and I'm trying to make sure that we're having a thorough conversation about what all the alternatives are. That's all. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Right. I mean, I think what you're trying to do is just making sure that we're thoroughly looking at this and making an informed decision. So I do appreciate that. And so that's good to raise these questions. But at the end, it still goes back to the legalities of it and the risk that is presented to the district if we were to proceed with that part. So you still go back to it. I know, eventually we're coming back to it. So I don't want to get in. We're still mulling it over. Okay, next box. Defining stakeholder involvement in the process to choose finalists. Let's see who is sitting in the room, making a final decision. HR recommendations, executive session with school board, board secretary, superintendent, listening session with the group leaders, 5 minutes, so very similar to the above. And then the school board, superintendent, board secretary name to review the materials and rankings. Susan will serve as a consultant capacity, and the school board will utilize her in a way that if we have specific questions about duties for superintendent. Oh, one more page. And then Susan will flip off the room for board members to corroborate on their decision. And which applicants to invite back as finalists. Yeah, I don't simplify it.
It's good too.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, as we talked about having people come in for the 5 minutes. We'll kind of review the ranking. Susan stuff out because she's not part of the decision process. We will make a decision.
Okay. All right, we got the next item is the site visit and community forum day. I have no problem with this. This is a long day. I do have a question if each candidate has their separate day, right? Or do we just clump all the candidates together?
The plan right now,
Okay.
if let's say we had 3 candidates, would be during, all three candidates would be attending the community group gathering.
Okay.
Candidate one would be going to Pacific Ridge at the same time that candidate two is going to the middle school, at the same time that
Oh.
candidate three is going to the high school.
Okay.
So they'd have individual time in the schools. They would, not sure what it'd look like is, are they all three getting in the same vehicle for a district tour? Are they getting in separate vehicles for a district tour? Lunch all together with this large group, again, separate to going to school, separate to going to their third school, all together for staff social hour. They get a break for an hour, and then they're all
Yeah.
together for the community town hall.
And in the community town hall, it sounds like if, Mr. Jones asks a question, all three candidates answer the question.
Correct.
Not just pointed at.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Jones
Okay.
asks a question, and that would be answered by you, and then Sandra, and then Kat.
Okay.
And then Mrs. Smith asks a question, and it'd be Sandra, and then Kat, and then you. So we would kind of,
rotate.
you would always be answering the question first.
There's a couple different ways I've seen that happen. You can do it like that where they're like on a panel and they're taking turns. Or if it's like an hour and a half and you have three finalists, you can say finalist one is the first half hour. And then finalist two is the second half hour. Or if you have two finalists, then you split that hour and a half community forum into 2 45 minutes. Or you can have them all together. They're both very common ways of doing it.
Is this something we need to decide? We don't have to decide right now. Okay, this can be.
I will say, if that is not a decision or a recommendation you want to make tonight, if you think it's going to come up later, you will need to meet again to make that determination. I just want you to know that anything that is not decided tonight, if you're not going to task HR with making the plan and the, decision, then you'll meet again.
Okay.
To make those decisions.
I didn't mean to laugh at you. It was
No,
just
I
the.
get it. I know.
understand. Yeah.
Meetings,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it.
The involvement that we board in this thing.
Is there gonna be involvement in this way, let's use a word? I think primarily it's that community town hall.
Okay.
Which would be basically the involvement of everybody in this community, parents, students, staff. Otherwise, no, I don't have you penciled in here, but if you would like that.
But like Sandra, you normally go to Good Morning Seaside, so I think the sooner you can approve this, the better, because like the chamber meeting and the lunch, I mean, the sooner we know, the sooner that HR can start organizing the groups.
And my question is, what level you're looking for, so I know if I need to request the data.
Right. And then do you need us to get super granular in the way of does everybody drive around in one car? Like, do you need us to make a? Okay.
We don't have a date yet, right?
And right now, this is just, this is the week, so it'd probably be really good to define what day that is too, so that, because believe it or not, this is only like 3 weeks away, so the more that this could be organized with these groups, the sooner the better.
Will it matter about, do you want to hold off until you know semifinalists or finalist availability?
Well, that would be.
Selecting a date. I don't know. Or do you just select a date?
Well, especially if we're considering any applicants from outside of the state, I think it's going to be challenging coordinating travel unless we have a firm date.
Yeah, that's true. We make some plans ahead of time for that too, especially those who are total too. Still need to plan that out.
Exactly. And then it could be that when we're contacting candidates that we're inviting for the semifinalist interview, we could notify them that, hey, if you're invited back as a finalist, and do that instead, that their, community visit is this day. So they could mentally already kind of plan that I need to be here the following Thursday or whatever.
And we need to give the mayor some.
All the keys.
So we need to find some tentative dates at this meeting.
We have a tentative week in
Okay.
our what do we even call that, our timeline?
Yeah.
Yeah, work.
And I think it's a whole week.
It is.
We
We just said it would happen that week.
We attend, we have a board meeting.
And we have so we wouldn't be able to support,
Community.
in that community, yeah.
First.
Yeah, we don't. Well, we don't. So it looks like it's either, well, how many candidates?
How many candidates? We don't know that.
Okay. So firm dates, it's gonna be every day except for the 21st.
So good morning,
Okay.
CSA is usually on Wednesday mornings.
So we could let you know.
So we could say the 22nd.
22nd, okay. 22nd
I think
Let's
that's a great
see.
starting point.
and 23rd. Next to each other.
Well, we'd only need one day.
Hopefully, yes.
Oh, right, because we're putting them all together, yes. A second.
Leslie, is there anything major?
I'm sorry, I was looking at date. What did you just talk
April
about?
22nd as the date for the site visit.
Okay. Let me. See if I don't know if I'm gonna be able to identify all school events, but I don't see anything on the major on the secondary calendar. It doesn't look like it.
Able to attend this.
They'll be needing to, but they're selected as finalists.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we support the term.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just want to double check. Okay. So. Okay. All right, well, I mean, eventually we'll get to the motion last time, but we got April 22nd. Okay. That was a tentative date, the tentative dates. Okay, now we're back to, well, we got 20 minutes, guys. Let's go back to the first box. Ooh.
So, an option or a consideration, if you guys were thinking of including those who, signed the letters, in the interview panels, would we require them, or would the staff be comfortable sharing in each interview with each candidate that they did sign a letter endorsing a different candidate? An effort of transparency.
Yeah.
It would be very uncomfortable. But that would be then sharing with all people involved. Being
Sure.
very transparent
Shadows and
with
I'm sorry, with
the
the
candidate,
the other candidates, so that they would.
that they're well aware in advance that this person has indicated a preference to another candidate already.
We have a couple people.
Interesting.
They would like to hear.
Chad, I think your hand was up first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem providing that information to any candidate. I also have a potential other solution. If the candidate whose letter was submitted resubmits the letter removing the names of those individuals that would be a part of this committee, I'm sure we could make that happen as well.
Then Megan.
I also would not have any problem stating support. I want to be clear that endorsing, supporting, chosen, those are all very similar but different things. And so I have no problem telling anybody in any interview process that I had a support for another candidate, but I can still be unbiased.
Thank you. I think that I feel like this is hindsight, of course. had people known that this could have been a potential issue, might have moved differently. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I feel is important to add there. So I would like to figure out an avenue in which we can include these folks who have raised their hand, you know, in wanting to have their input in a way that is the most least issue creating for us as a board or as a district, not as a board, but as a district. So, and includes them in this process. That's my thoughts.
There's a question. Who is the lead for each of the groups? Who decides that or how's that?
We picked the leads in lottery.
In lottery, So all of those leads are still no. Okay.
One group lead was removed. That is the group that is down to one.
Is it still a group?
That's for
Sorry,
you
that's
to
semantics.
decide.
That's a great point. Stephanie, great point. Would it be a preference though? I want to get clear since we're trying to like parse out the right language here, and I put it in the chat. But like, is it a preference or is it just more along the lines of I signed a letter of recommendation for another candidate before I was selected for this panel? Like that's the notification, right? Like just a fair and accurate statement of what they have in fact done, or a truthful statement of what they have done, as opposed to I don't have a preference. I signed a letter of recommendation for somebody before I was picked for this. Like something
I
like
guess
that.
this goes back to the question though, even if we allow this,
Yeah,
even if we allow this
for chat.
for the person to say that they had this letter of recommendation for that candidate, would it still be unfair practice law? Because
I think we would have more leg to stand on, saying that we were very clear and open from the beginning that the interview teams participating in this process shared right away that they had signed a letter of recommendation.
oh, this is prior to them coming to the interview.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When does the candidates receive this information? Is it during the
I would
interview
say
or prior?
I'm thinking during the interview, like they sit down. Hi, my name's Stephanie. I just want to let you know I signed a letter indicating a preference for a letter of recommendation for another candidate.
we'll look at, they will look at the language before
Yeah.
deciding what we said, but.
Do you think it could be sent in advance? You think that would be preferred?
I'm just thinking of the unfair labor laws,
Yeah.
like I'm a little more cautious.
Reviewed by legal counsel, it's not for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And also, would each person have to agree with that? It's not, it's for each individual person.
I would feel more, I would need everybody, not just those representing.
Right, and
But
when
that can
legal
be a requirement if you to be on this thing and this kind of letter, you have to state this. If you choose not to, then you don't have to move on.
Can I just throw something in there? And here's maybe just a possible thing is when we state we signed a letter for another candidate, we could offer to remove ourselves from that particular interview, or does that totally throw the integrity? Because if they say they're not comfortable, then then that would, I guess in theory, never mind, that wouldn't work because then that would remove all of my group. Never mind. Sorry. I had to talk it out.
Yeah,
no, that's fine.
You kind of have to interview all of them to really be able to choose your candidate at the end. Yeah. So if you didn't interview
But
one,
maybe
then-
there's a way that the candidate could then post that interview, share, that made them uncomfortable and they don't want that person's information. But then again, we're getting down into this real deep,
Without advice.
Right.
I would consider, as part of the HR team as well, I would also consider how potential candidates might view this.
I agree with you, Sandra, that I think the unfortunate situation is that those signing these letters, it just didn't occur to them that this would likely lead to them being removed from interview panels. Which, you know, they don't work in HR. But I think external candidates, if I was an external candidate applying and found out later on that half of this interview panel was endorsing a different candidate or signing a letter of recommendation, I would immediately feel like this wasn't an equitable practice. I never had a chance.
Could they be part of the interview, but not be allowed to have a vote when they fill out the forms?
Just like sit in and listen. Can I ask how you would feel about that?
Well, real quick, I wanted to just add in there too that Stephanie, you said that it didn't occur to us, but really some of us signed those letters before the hiring committees were even talked about. So it couldn't occur to us because we didn't know, but that's just semantics there. The other thing is yeah, I would have no problem sitting in on it. Would that include though, will we be allowed to be part of asking the questions, or are we just sitting there like a wall on the fly on the wall? Because having six people sit there quietly and one person ask all the questions could be kind of intimidating as well. So, I mean, I guess I don't think we would be opposed to doing that and just having our rating or whatever not utilized. But I would be curious as what that would look like in theory.
Yeah, the whole point is, but I feel like just sitting there that's not helping.
Maybe Jane Trader.
Yeah, Jane was next.
Hi, thanks. I'm just like throwing out an idea that you're saying they would be upset if they found out when they came that a letter was signed by some of the people on the committees. What if we disclose that to them prior to them coming? Like, what if we sent out a letter saying there have been recommendation letters sent from people on panels to the candidates, the applicants, and ask them the question and give them the choice. Is this a problem? Because then it would have been disclosed before they come. Just an idea.
You may run the risk of people withdrawing. Chad.
No, I think,
Oh, sorry.
Matt was.
Oh, Matt, sorry, Matt.
Did he remove himself? Matt Johnson?
There he
Matt,
is.
yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, no, I just, there's a lot being said about that, but just so you know, yeah, I endorsed somebody, but for me, it was like, is this worth you going through a process here? It's just like I would say, something like, do you want a hamburger? Sure. Well, would you write hamburger with fries? Oh yeah, that's better. So when I signed it, I was not planning on being on the committee because I'm out the door. But when I signed it, it wasn't a signature saying I won't consider or think about or anything like that. It's just like, hey, I've worked with this person for a long time. It's a great choice. So there's different perspectives everybody had, but just wanted to let you know where I was coming from on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Chad.
There's some other hands raised.
Yeah, guys, think
Yeah.
we only have 8 minutes. We gotta make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't
need to.
Oh, we don't?
No.
Oh, we're just trying not being until.
Oh, sorry, guys. I thought we had an end time. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Were there some
Uh,
other?
Yeah, that was Chad, I think.
I thought there was.
Yeah, the option of just being in the room isn't really an option because that's the same thing as not being able to be a part of the process itself. And I'm hoping to seek some clarity. Said there was another letter written for another candidate. Is that person involved in this process at all? That I know they're not on an interview committee.
Team.
They've been removed.
Pardon me?
That person was removed from their interview team.
Are they a part of any other process as part of this?
Like,
No.
I mean, I don't know, they're not part of this process at all. Right?
Okay, so yeah, I'm just trying to see clarity if the letter written for the other candidate, if that person is involved in any section of this besides the interview panels.
I don't believe so, no.
So I guess that's a Stephanie and Leslie question.
yeah.
Oh,
Right, sorry, because we haven't seen anything.
No, I just, I know I take it off.
Yeah,
So many.
Have we not seen one applicant?
So we do have another letter of recommendation that is not a person on an interview team, but someone who I think you all want to consult with.
Okay, which brings me to a point of an equitable situation. How can somebody provide consultation in that, but still have a recommendation for a candidate? But I can't sit in on an interview to be able to be, part of that same process. So if we're removed, that person needs to be removed from the whole situation as well.
It's just fine with me. I am happy to be removed as a consultant. But, you want to be involved in that, so I am happy to be removed.
I now get what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I would,
I did not.
my
Clarify that for everyone,
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Do you want me to clarify that? Okay, so a letter of recommendation was submitted by Susan for one of the candidates. She is not part of the interview process. So the question becomes, do we remove her completely from this whole superintendent search committee meetings?
And just to clarify, the board had asked me to be a consultant on superintendent duties because I'm the superintendent.
Right.
Not making any recommendations, but if somebody's uncomfortable with me being a part of that process, I am happy to be removed from the entire thing, including these meetings.
I agree that what we do for one, we do for all.
Right.
And so.
If you make a decision to keep these people out of the meetings, I am happy to be not involved in it at all.
Well, what's the difference between you being here sitting and us asking you questions than if you came in virtually, like Chad and Megan? Nothing.
They're here. They're
Right.
They're so it's the same.
But I think they're saying they're saying if they're not allowed to be on the interviewing committee because of, the integrity of the process.
Right.
Should Susan be allowed to sit in as a consultant?
Oh.
Okay. This part is
Right.
is that maintaining the integrity of the.
Is
Okay.
Jason still on the call?
Yeah. Jason,
Yes,
Do you have any-
I'm listening.
do you have any feelings or opinions?
To the latter point,
yeah, go ahead.
I think that in order to remain consistent, who made the decision to remove the people from that panel?
It was a red flag that I noticed and talked with Leslie and Susan, and then we called our legal counsel. Leslie sent an email to OSBA, and then after our conversation with legal counsel and OSBA, it was a HR decision to remove those people from the team.
Okay.
And just to clarify, I mean, that's HR's job.
Oh, no, I understand. I just was curious if they talked to you about it. That's all.
If
Okay.
they- Oh, like
Pardon?
legal counsel? Is that what you mean?
No. If you talk to Susan about it, like to the point of like consistency here of was this person who also was involved in a letter recommendation, involved in the selection, influenced the selection committees in any other way? The answer to that is yes, because that person was asked a question and then helped like make that decision to remove them. That's all. That's what
Well,
I'm saying.
it's my job as superintendent to protect the district from legal.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, legal
Yeah.
risks.
Yeah.
So eventually we have to make a choice.
Yes.
We had to decide, do we leave everybody as it was? And let everybody participate? Or do we take everybody, including Susan, off? I mean, I think that's the,
Yeah, I
I
think,
don't think letting them sit in the, you know, their point is like, that's not. doing.
I'm gonna be bold with a recommendation. In all fairness, I think that, if we're asking those who submitted recommendation not be part of this, then in fairness, we don't utilize Susan as a consultant.
I think those are two different things at this moment for me. So like, we haven't decided yet, like, we agree that that's out there. If we're gonna choose to not have them on, Susan's rocking with them, right? But, we haven't decided yet whether we want to look at a different avenue in having them be a part of this process. To, if there's an alternative or some sort of disclaimer or something that can be done to keep them on in this process. So I think to me, yes, that's decided that she
That
will.
we decide after what we decide on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what
But we need to decide,
a lot of things are.
do we?
Can I, say something?
Yes.
This is a very complex process. I have complex feelings around it, as many people I think do. As part of the HR team in this office, I guess I would just like to put on record that as an employee who has duties in the HR department, I would like it on record that I would, as an HR professional, go with the recommendation of our legal counsel and the Oregon School Board Association. I would like that just personally on record, that I have noted that as an employee of the Seaside School District in this office, that I feel uncomfortable not taking the advice of legal counsel. I understand that the board will make their own decision, and that my comments are not intended to sway you. But I feel like as protection for myself as an HR representative in this office, that I need to say that.
Thank you.
And I would also, as your superintendent, like to go on record that it is HR's job as skilled professionals and as your superintendent that we follow legal advice for reasons, and that I would always advise you to follow the advice of legal counsel, and that regardless of what is said, that if you did not follow the advice of legal counsel, that I would remove myself from that process as well.
Is there a way that we could have legal counsel look and see if there's a way in some capacity to include these people, these groups of people that are interested in sharing their info?
I mean, I think I have,
Right,
you know, and there's still a community forum. And they can even put there.
Because at the end of the day, we're still collecting all the information, right? And we still will see the signature or I don't know what that document looks like, you know, whatever recommendation came through, we'd still get that information. You know, the other thought too is it was brought up that you have the 7 employees and none from the high school. And we talked about a good number is what, 9 to 12, 8 to 12. So what if we asked 2 high school staff members to join? Would that be satisfactory?
You have to open it up again. Yeah, we have to open it up again. Everybody. We can't ask specific people.
Well, yes, that's that. Try to find 2 more, at least you have some representative from the high school to get us to 9. Or 3, because 10, let's even. They would open it up, but how long would that work?
Knowing the quantity of signatures that were received on this letter, on one of the letters specifically, I think it would be challenging to, I don't think it's impossible, I would have to look at it, but I think we would have a hard time finding 3 that have not signed this letter that are interested in participating in this process.
Okay.
I think we talked about it.
And all of these people can share their input at the community forum.
Yes.
With us,
Yes.
with everybody.
Meaning like, in emails?
No, just like somehow have a place where they're sharing their thoughts about.
So at the community forum day during the community town hall, we're hoping to have a survey available to anyone who participates, anyone who attends, that they would complete saying, Charlie Brown was great, Lucy was not, or whatever they want to say.
Well, here's a thought. Okay, so we're talking about the fly on the wall. So what if we had 3 from that group who are just fly on the walls, but their votes don't count, but at the community forum, that's where they can tell us their thoughts.
What would be
that
the
all?
point of them being a
Yeah,
fly
fly
on the wall interview? Just so that they feel like they get to participate?
Well, they also get to see what they're, you know, what who the candidates are. I think that's the most interesting aspect, right? Like if I was to put myself in their shoes, it would be 1, you know, having a voice, but 2, it's like, who are the options, right? Like I would want to know that. And then that way it gives me a better sense of why the school board chose who they chose based off of the selections.
And that's 5 or 6 people.
Well, 3, I'm just asking for 3.
How do you choose those 3? Here we are again.
We pick a name, those who did the, who signed the sheet, we picked 3.
I don't think that's gonna go fair to them, if they don't all participate. Or, I mean, and they can chime in too, but I'm saying, I don't want, I don't know, it is complex. State, yeah, it does, and it's.
We have to make. And
I'll
that's our job.
also share
That's our
that
job.
not only the community town hall, but we also built in that like staff social hour for staff to meet with candidates in a more informal setting, which again, we will hope to be collecting feedback from that, where staff could speak to those, but that again would be finalists, not semi-finalists.
And, you know, I'm not saying that I wanna just virtual and take any risk for the district, you know, I'm just asking all the questions to make sure, you know, we move forward appropriately and fairly and, look at all avenues, but, you know, I'm not saying that I'm not raising my hand for risk, you know, that's not.
We're basically trying to find a way that we can do both, right?
Yeah.
Be legally sound,
Yeah.
not put us at risk, but then also be inclusive of those who wrote a letter of recommendation. And I can't figure out a way to do that about the risk.
Necessarily who wrote the letter of recommendation, but who had raised their hands and wanted to have input.
Mm,
Yeah.
right, because yes, Matt Johnson.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what that last comment was. If you're waiting for something.
We're still brainstorming.
Yeah, we're thinking hard.
Think a little bit louder.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I was saying that, it wasn't just about who signed the letter, it was about those of you who really wanted to be part of this process.
And then I brought up Matt Johnson's comment, signing it, but not necessarily needing to be part of the committee.
Eventually, there's two.
We're gonna have to make a decision, right? Because we have to move forward. Do we want to move towards action items and start making motions, or do we want to continue talking about this?
Unless, Stephanie or Leslie or something can tell me an avenue in which this doesn't put us at risk, or some way that they can be included, in the process in some way. Input, not necessarily the process, but input in this process.
Well, their input as far as letter of recommendation tells us, this is a candidate that they support. If the goal is for them just to be able to know the candidates' names, of who's gonna be semifinalists, I don't think that that's necessarily a problem to notify those staff members. They did sign a confidentiality agreement. I don't see a way to include them in interview panels that doesn't put the district at risk.
Can't be their own panel.
No.
Honestly, that's a good question. You have a panel that's only of those who recommended.
If
That's
that
specific
information can be
candidates,
shared with the
Yeah.
school board, and the school board's gonna take that into account, because that's still the same issue.
It's the same issue. Whether they're in their own group or they're not in. Right.
The problem is that if all of these, I believe these staff who are saying they can make a unbiased decision based on how candidates answer these questions. I believe that.
Yeah.
The problem is whether they recommend the candidate that they sign their letter for. The question will be in all of our brains. Well, is that because they answered the question correctly? Or is that because they just like this person? And if they recommend somebody else, then I don't know. It's just complicated. If they recommend somebody else, then great, but then this letter
Didn't help back in.
didn't help. I mean, it's just messy.
People will just go towards the action items. Right. I'll do that one last. Okay.
Can I make sure that part of your thought process is, are we keeping these teams separate or are you planning on combining them? Just for your action item.
Oh, right.
Oh.
There's only one, I think we have to combine them, like that's, if that's the chair, and then we can decide what questions, right? That would make sure that's inclusive of the one employer classified. I'll still do that last though, as we're still processing. All right, let's see the action items.
Yeah,
Susan. Susan, I don't know you. Can you introduce yourself for me?
Hi, I'm Susan Bartline. I look terrible right now, so I'm not gonna give my picture. I just had a question. If you guys are combining the classified and licensed group, which is what you're talking about, correct?
Yes.
I would like to just propose in your discussion that that group gets more than the minimum amount of questions that we were told to. I mean, if you're combining them and also combining the questions, it means that both groups are getting fewer questions than originally they were told they would get. And so I wanted that to be considered in the talk of, can that group have a few more extra minutes with a candidate, or can they have more questions in order to have both interests at the table, rather than, both of them having half the number of questions they would have gotten otherwise without the letter that was signed. So just put it out there.
That's a great point, and I think that's fair too.
Well, because originally it would have been two
Right.
full sessions. If we combine them, then it's only one, so we could still give them.
The full gauntlet, or
That's a
20
lot of
questions.
questions.
long time.
They can have more questions.
How about this, we allow them to have a little bit more questions to ensure that.
I mean, okay, so let's picture what this day is gonna look like. We have all these rooms set up, we have all these candidates, and they're basically cycling through. So is it a possibility that maybe this group as 7, if that was your proposal, has one session that they just focus on the license question, and then they have one session that they just focus on the classified session, classified questions, and then we could still keep the candidates moving through.
They might see them twice.
Yeah, and might see
They
them
might see
twice.
them twice.
Broken up in a break and not.
Yeah, there might be a break.
I like that. Sounds like that's a lot for one sitting.
And how would we have this group doing an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes, but this group over here is only doing 45 minutes, and then the flow of candidates is gonna be very not low.
Okay.
But if they can cycle through twice, that would be, so they would get their still get their full set of questions.
When we heard the opinion that, these are two different groups that will come from two different perspectives.
We also,
How would you handle the rankings then?
I was just going to say if, oh, Susan has an opinion.
Sorry, I have lots of opinions. I just want to point out, there probably would be some double up questions from those two groups. I just want to clarify. I'm sure you could combine, or like with the groups, okay, you could combine some and some would be redundant. But I just wanted to, have that be heard, that both sides still want to have their questions. So
I think that we could essentially do still independent group rankings. Of course, our classified person is going to be like one ranking, but have them present the questions as a team so that the staff members on that team don't feel that one person doesn't feel all by themselves.
Right.
And candidates don't feel like, wow, this is a real intimate situation with one, and then I'm stepping into a room of 12. So
the candidates will just see that group twice,
mhm.
but have a little space so they have a little bit of reading room. They come back and answer the second group of questions.
Yeah, and it might not even be right in a row.
Right.
You know? Yeah, they don't have to take the whole time. I think that's it.
Thank you. It's a great suggestion. Okay, all right. Are we ready to move towards action? Okay. So that's making that first log last, just after all the, yeah, we're making.
I'd like to make a motion to, if we're talking about, to provide candidates with half of the interview questions 24 hours in advance, and resorting half of the questions for the actual interview, with the individual groups deciding which questions they would give 24 hours in advance.
That's good. Okay. Under second it, all right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Motion carries. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to have simplified group rankings to be shared with other interviewing groups the evening of the interviews, with the school board getting the full individual and group ranking information.
Okay. All right, we got a first and seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
If there are most or areas where you want to accept HR's recommendation, you could
Just to say
you
that,
could
okay.
make your motion to say for the request for, interview groups to prioritize their own questions. I would like to move to accept HR's recommendation, or if there's a tweak to something, you could add that. Just if that makes it easier.
I would like to make a motion in regards to requests for interview groups to prioritize their own group questions to follow the HR recommendation.
Right. We're gonna push in a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion that in defining interview group involvement after April 8th and 9th semifinals interviews, we follow the HR recommendation.
Okay. Great. Yep, all in favor, say aye.
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 Which one? Just one second. It was a little broken up. I'm so sorry. Which one was that?
The one defining interview group involvement after the April 8th and 9th semifinalist interviews. HR recommendation was that each interview group will be allowed, a leader will be allowed 5 minutes to provide information. And any red flags. In the executive session, each leader of the interview groups can come in and give a 5-minute summary.
All right. Got it. Thank you. Sorry.
Motion carries.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion in regards to defining what application materials being made available to interview group members, that we follow the HR recommendation.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 And motion carries.
I believe we have to wait.
Yeah.
For this one until we do the. I'd like to make a motion to approve the site visit community forum timeline with a potential date of April 22nd as the finalist day.
All right, motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Yep.
You
want me to?
I'd like to make a motion as far as interview team changes to remove the, to keep the, well, to approve the interview team changes that HR has made. And combining the 6 employees for the license team and the 1 employee in classified interview team, each given a full set of questions.
We have a motion. Do you have a second?
I will second it. And I would like to comment.
We have a motion and a second, then we can make comments.
I feel it's unfortunate that this information wasn't known ahead so that those who wanted to be a part of this process could have been a part of this process in the manner in which it was presented before. I heavy-heartedly second this and go forward with this to add the recommendation of legal and OSBA, legal counsel and OSBA. I wish there was another avenue in which we could move forward differently, but to reduce with risk and to have a fair process through this, I have moved forward in this way, but I do this very heavy-heartedly making this decision.
I would, and I don't need a second, but I would hear your thoughts completely. And I think that when we gather and get all that information, that recommendation will be considered and taken into account when we review all the applicants. So you guys are ensure that your voices are heard.
Wherever anybody can share that information, wherever anybody can be a part of that, that we wanted to be a part of this, we want that too.
All right. All in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jason?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion regarding defining stakeholder involvement in the process to choose finalists for site visit committee forum. We accept the HR recommendation with the subtraction of Superintendent Penrod as a consultant. So, yes.
Second. We have a motion and second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jason?
No.
All those carries.
Okay, I'd like to add another item. I mean, this doesn't, this just removes me from the process in the last part of the process, but I think it's important for the board to take action if I'm removed from this point going forward. From today, I think that that's important, an important decision for the board to make. When I did write a letter of recommendation, I am the direct report for a number of people. I did consult with legal counsel, if that was appropriate for me to do because I'm not on the interview team, and that was shown that was appropriate to do because I was not on the interview team. But it's very important for me as your superintendent, with a high level of integrity and transparency in the process to not appear to have any undue influence. And I wouldn't want any of the staff to feel like I had any influence, because my goal, of course, is for you to find my replacement in the process that I trust all of you to do. So I would request that I am not involved in any process moving forward from tonight, because I would not want anybody to have the impression that I would be having any influence in to make a motion. Right? And I understand that this does put a hardship on the two of you.
I'm going to speak up again, not because I want the board to make the decision the board feels best about. But I also want to point out that if, that we have sort of a one person plus HR team right now. If Susan's removed from this process, there are no administrators involved then. There are Stephanie and I involved, which has been extremely overwhelming so far, if I'm being completely honest with everybody. And I don't know if you would want to consider having someone else, someone who's has a leadership role and who has some power in the district, who might be someone who could help. I mean, I'm confident that Stephanie, especially, and I'm happy being part of that HR team, can, make like these events happen. But if anything else comes up out of the ordinary, there would not be an administrator as working on this process.
So I just want to
right now, like
add, we want to make sure you guys feel supported, and I want to add, and I don't know if this could be helpful in any way. I apologize ahead of time if it's not. I think we should have went with a consultant. I think that this process, no, I'm just saying that I understand what it would have looked like and how difficult financially we had, constraints on our budget. But I think that I'll just put that out. I was nervous about where we're at today. So yes, is it possible to have OSBA's continued support, or we want to make sure that this process is done right and you guys are supported 100%.
But I think it's important to note that I don't think you should be completely off because we're engaging leadership, right? But our final decision has
it's our decision.
It's our decision, right? So I think this one component of the consultation takes away that sense of the interview, dilemma that we were.
You're out of the room for
right
that executive session when we're discussing finalists.
Would she be in the room when leaders are coming in, group leaders are coming in, sharing their 5 minutes?
I don't know if that's necessarily, if that's a feeling that she's going to have some kind of influence in there as well. But I think when you say take yourself out completely, I mean, does that mean like, you won't be there on the community day with, or, I guess I just don't understand that.
I'm just saying this because I feel like my involvement has been questioned tonight. And I don't want anybody to feel like I have had an undue influence, because that my goal all along has been to support the board through this process, like I support you in anything that we do.
Right. And I still think there's some support there that we may need. Now, whether it's you need to be in the executive session while we're making that decision, that way you're not in there, and then there's, any undue influence right there, but there might be other.
I just feel like I would want to reduce any issue altogether, and I'm in agreement with your first statement. And if there another person that could provide that support,
I think you've got a couple people with raised hands.
All right. I think Chad was the first one. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Chad. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh,
you're muted.
You're muted, Chad.
There's other administrators in the district, some that have been here 30 plus years through their teaching career and through their administrative career. There's principals at the elementary school that would provide the same, that have not endorsed the candidate at all through any part of the process. But I definitely recommend Jason Boyd or Julie Wozniak as part of that, because at least to my knowledge, has not recommended through anything throughout the process. I could be wrong. I don't know if Stephanie and Leslie can correct me on that, but there's people there that can provide guidance on how the district works and through the process of what goes on.
Carlina?
Yeah, Carlina.
I just wanted to add a couple more names to that consideration. If you are considering administrators, I'd like to recommend either Jenny Reisner or Wendy Crozier.
Megan?
I just want to point out that I'm sorry, Susan, but that's exactly how we feel right now as well. So, you feeling like your integrity is in question or your intent or whatever is exactly how we're feeling in that situation as well. So, from our point of view, if we can't be involved in the nitty-gritty of it, then I think that it's appropriate because you wrote a letter as well. I think that's equitable right there.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Susan. I appreciate you putting it out.
Yeah, saying, I mean, I think that's integrity right there. You're right. To acknowledge it and appreciate it. So, but you two need support.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you do.
Do you have a recommendation? Or
We also don't, like, I don't know necessarily what leaders are on the team or if there's other internal candidates, like, we don't know, I don't know them.
Yeah, dealing with any of that.
The problem with those administrators is they're all on the energy panel.
They're
It
also
can be
not
written.
here in this space
Right.
next to me down the hall where I can just go down and say, okay, what about this?
Well, and they have jobs. that they're
Correct.
Already doing.
Which
This,
as it turns out, takes a lot of
don't
time.
necessarily have the HR knowledge and knowledge about this kind of process. I mean, there's a number of
I
reasons
mean, I hate
why.
to put extra work on anybody like.
I don't know as far as wanting like superintendent feedback specific to the superintendent role, if it's something that maybe we could connect with some of our class of county superintendents and see if maybe one of them is interested in being a resource for you, being a resource for us. I don't have any relationship with any of them, and I don't know how appropriate that would be.
Well, it sounds like they're not really needing this part.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of the HR support for you guys.
I don't have a solution for that right now. My brain is too fried.
I would recommend contacting the ESD for that support.
but wait, this is still our decision. This is right. This is still our
Yes,
decision. I
It
think
is your decision.
I hear the frustrations and I hear the need for equity. I believe that in order to get through this, because as you mentioned, there's only 4 more weeks, right? We need administrative support now. Like, I don't foresee us, even if we went to ESD, like, how much more is this gonna get pushed back to catch that person up? And then second, to have the same understanding of how we're gonna move this forward, right? I also believe that if we are removing Susan from this component of the decision-making aspect, but leave her in the administrative aspect of trying to get us going, I think that's fair. She doesn't have a say. She maybe you don't join these meetings, but at least in the background, helping us, support us, escorting Stephanie and Leslie to get this going.
That is your job.
I think we find somebody else.
I would prefer that.
I think it's a very blurry line at that point, if we're gonna have Susan, I mean, thank you for supporting her. But I think that it's blurry.
To step back.
Yep. Okay. I will take that into consideration. Sorry.
I don't know who, I mean, we don't know completely, like, they're saying their HR background. So I don't know that we can make a decision right now on who we're putting forward. So that's the other thing, that who's interested. We can't even just say somebody, we don't even know if they're interested.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, so.
But does this delay and push back our timeline?
I don't think so. I think it just. We just.
No, it's if there's emergent issues, who do you guys go to for support, right?
Right.
Like that's the big piece of it, right? Continue, who do you bouncing ideas off of? Who do you have for that reference? So Susan, do you have a recommendation for someone who would be willing and or could fill that role?
Yeah, I could share with them somebody from the ESD.
Okay. Great.
We need to have another meeting
To approve them?
to approve them.
I think we need to make sure the larger board is aware of this too. I think it's something that we should definitely get in front of the board tomorrow for their discussion and input, because it is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, where are the community?
We
I
can
know.
make
We make that decision.
Okay.
All right, so do we set up another meeting?
I think that
How do
you
we
can,
determine-
I think you can,
I think we can say, if we want to go with the ESD, just say the ESD. Or
Is that a good blanket statement that we would get someone from ESD? Can we say that? Okay.
They are we not considering anybody within our district?
Well, the problem with, I mean, I know that people on here have mentioned a lot of the administrators on here, but everybody who's been mentioned is on an interview panel.
right, and that's
I think you could say that by April 5th, Susan will fully have stepped back and put someone in place as administrative support for the HR team. And then let that be, maybe it's the ESD, maybe ESD isn't available. We'll figure something else out, but that would be at the discretion of the district office instead of having to have another meeting.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, so. All right. April 5th, is that enough time?
That's a week, I
but
think.
we're meeting on, I mean, we're.
I'm emailing the ESD right now.
Okay,
Why?
when is our next meeting?
Tomorrow, system.
Yep. By April 1st. I should make jokes, okay.
The 5th is, well, Sunday,
So by Monday.
it's the 6th, yeah. I make a motion that by April 6th, Susan Penrod has stepped back from the committee, the superintendent hiring committee. And we will replace them hopefully with someone in the ESD at the discretion of HR.
I don't know.
No, do you want a second?
I don't know why we're not considering something.
Well, I think we can.
It's like the motion just says at the ESD.
I thought the point was to be consistent with somebody who's in this process to not be on an interview.
Is it not possible for somebody on an interview panel to, because things have changed, not be on the interview panel anymore? Have they seen anything? Well, here's the question. Have they seen anything yet? You know what I mean? Like if we've had to make this big.
Sure, that's possible.
Like,
You'd have to ask, I suppose, for volunteers. Again, do those people have any HR knowledge?
Right, it's the knowledge base administrator role. I think you have to go to the ESD and it's an outside source.
And they have another job. I mean, that's the challenge if they have another job that they're doing. So we're pulling them from that job to talk a bunch of HR stuff.
I don't.
But
But if that's, sorry, we made a motion, we probably need to.
I mean, I'm not,
It hasn't been seconded.
Yeah.
so-
I'm not opposed to that, and to the point of them being on an interview team, I'm on an interview team. And I'm in this meeting. You guys are on an interview team.
I'm just trying to be consistent
I know.
with the decisions that we
Yeah.
make.
But,
I mean, like, they can be removed from an interview team too.
Yeah, but we didn't write it down as a recommendation.
right, exactly, I think.
And I
as
think
long
that's
as-
where that stems.
Yeah, no, I get
That's
that.
where that's.
Right, I guess what I'm
Was.
saying is if they haven't written a recommendation and they haven't done any of that, and you just happen to be on the interview team, can they pull from an interview team to take on this role? If possible, if available, if they have the background to do it, and if not, yes.
But would it be fair to pull somebody from the team?
They could still be on the routine stuff.
As long as
As long as they
didn't
didn't
submit a
sign
license.
or submit a letter of recommendation
It's also pulling up from their
from
role,
their own
on
job.
their actual job, where ESD has a bit more bandwidth.
They don't have to raise their hand if they're not able to do it.
Mhm.
That's the point. They don't have to raise their hand. So if we get nobody, then they're not available.
So I guess my question is, why do you want someone internal? Direction on
Because hopefully they've seen the process, they've gone through this, they understand the district, they understand our workings, and as some of them said, we have some choices. We can do that. We could have worked very good years.
Well, my rationale for ESD is because if we're talking about the bare and equitable components and not having any biases, then it would make sense to have ESD come in, someone from the outside. That someone who's really has no skin in the game, and it makes it very fair.
We have a comment about potentially approaching Dr. Raleigh. Which I think could be another option. I think the motion of
She would not,
here.
based on the criteria we've been discussing tonight, she would not be
You're
eligible.
correct. You're correct.
Yeah, I love the support, love the interdistrict support from everybody. Love that. I think that to Saunders' point, we ask, and if the condition of like, let's be clear, it wasn't that you couldn't be a part of this. It got to the point of people were removed from something because they signed a letter, and then in order to be consistent, Susan is stepping aside, right? Like, just because they were on an interview committee shouldn't preclude them from continued discussions. We've been trying to get more people that are on these interview committees as part of these discussions. That's why so many people are speaking tonight or in this meeting itself. So I'm aligned with Sandra that, hey, let's ask, let's look internal, let's ask, let's have somebody who's willing to do it, obviously, to serve as that kind of subject matter expert. And I don't know how much it will really help out Stephanie and Leslie, but at least it will help, alleviate some of that burden. I think that's a reasonable request. And then to keep them on those panels as part of the process as a professional, being an objective professional, like, I think that's fine. It's just a matter of if they're willing, to step forward with it. I don't think that breaks any of the standards that we're trying to set at all.
Well, I have two questions then. Would you guys be supportive of someone that's an internal candidate that wants to step up to help support you? Or would you prefer someone that's outside like ESD?
I
You have a
don't have
preference?
I don't have a frame to put that. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, my only input would be, the things that might come up that we would need that person for would likely be complicated human resources questions.
So it needs to be somebody who has significant knowledge in that area. So to me, thinking internal, that's one person. And potentially. And I think, if we want to start there and say, okay, let's ask this person if they're interested, then yes. And then no, then we can go to the ESD.
Does that sound like a fair? Or do you still want, and I'm not trying to call you out, it's just, I mean, you have a strong point, so I'm just kind of, it's like thinking, you know, would that be satisfactory to?
I think for timeline's sake,
Mhm.
you know, we basically need to reach out to that employee and say, you know, ask this question.
Okay.
And give them, what, 24 hours to make a decision, because then we need to be reaching out to the PSC if they.
Oh, we don't.
It's ready to go.
I think that seems, you know, I think we need to, you can't just expect them to say, oh, yes,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
Try this one, yeah.
Happy.
I'd like to make the motion that we reach out to an internal representative to support the remainder of the consulting for our superintendent hiring process. And if we don't have that internal candidate, then we move on to the listed within 24 hours. Would you 24 hours? Would you say 40 hours? Right.
I think 24 hours.
24 hours.
And Susan will be removed.
And Susan will be removed from.
Leslie, are you clear on that motion?
I'm working on
She's
it.
still talking.
Okay. I know. It faded away. I thought we stopped talking. It's hard to hear.
No.
She's working on it.
I was waiting for that second. I'm loaded up for that second.
Okay, can you back up?
Yeah, and Susan will be removed from her position as consultant.
5
April
or 6.
Do you want to repeat that back to us? Would you? Yeah.
But luckily, this is all recorded, so.
Oh, yes. Let's go back.
That's what I am. I'll be redoing this whole meeting to get the
Okay.
minutes. Okay. I believe that Sandra made a motion that I move to reach out to an internal candidate to support this process, giving them 24 hours to make a decision. And then if they decline, go with the ESD, and that Susan will be removed from participation in the process by April 6th. Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I was waiting. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, motion passes. Okay. Gosh, this was difficult.
Can I just say one thing? I don't know. I just feel like we are going to make some tough decisions. And I'm not going to speak for the whole board, but every board member on our board, not just committee, either has kids in the districts, had kids in the district, or has taught kids in the district. And I really think we appreciate all of our staff, certified, classified, administrative, district office. We know they work hard. We know they have integrity. You know, we're happy. This is why we're on the school board, because our school is great. And so I just hope that also that everyone out there has a little bit of faith in us as board members, that we do have the best interests in our hearts as well. And we're going to try our best to make this decision, you know, with everybody in mind, especially the students and the staff. And I just want to make that known, because we are making some tough decisions. But I hope everyone realizes that, at least for me personally, like, I take it to heart. I want to make the best decision. When we're hiring a superintendent, big job, it's a big deal.
And you have to ask the tough questions.
Yep. I echo that, and I appreciate everyone speaking up and giving us their thoughts and opinions, because we really need all those perspectives to make those decisions. And then Susan, that was hard, but it was with integrity that you said to make a decision. So thank you. All right. Then this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.